$2,400. That's the average quote Toyota dealers wrote up last year for a Prius hybrid battery replacement, and most owners just hand over the credit card without asking a single question. Here's what almost none of them know. Before that battery actually fails, there's a calibration procedure, quietly used by technicians in Japan. Since the second generation Prius rolled off the line, that resolves a huge chunk of the issues that trigger that exact warning light. It costs nothing. It takes about 20 minutes. And it's been sitting in plain sight in Toyota's own service literature the entire time. So why isn't your service advisor leading with it? That's the real story, and we're getting into it right now. Look, the phrase dead hybrid battery is one of the most misleading terms in the entire automotive industry. Because 9 times out of 10, when that little red triangle of doom lights up your dash, the battery itself isn't dead at all. It's confused. Here's what's actually happening. Your hybrid battery isn't one battery. It's a stack of nickel metal hydride cell modules, usually 28 of them, in a Gen 2 or Gen 3 Prius, all working together. The hybrid system controller, what Toyota calls the battery ECU, is constantly monitoring voltage across each pair. Over years of stop-and-go driving, those cells drift apart. One pair charges a little faster. Another pair holds slightly less. The computer sees that imbalance and panics. It throws a code, usually P0A80, sometimes P through 111, through P3024, depending on which block is throwing the tantrum. The dash lights up. Your fuel economy tanks because the system stops trusting the battery and runs the engine more aggressively to compensate. But the cells themselves? Many of them are still perfectly capable of holding charge. What you're really dealing with is a balance problem disguised as a death sentence. The procedure goes by a few names. Toyota's official documentation calls it battery ECU initialization. Independent hybrid shops in Osaka and Nagoya have been calling it the Kakujitsu reset, roughly the certain reset, for nearly 15 years. Mechanics in the US just shortened it to the Japanese reset because that's where the technique was perfected. Here's the basic idea. You force the battery management system to forget everything it thinks it knows about your battery's condition, and then you let it relearn from scratch over a controlled drive cycle. Think of it like restarting a laptop that's been running for 3 months straight. The hardware was fine. The software just got tangled up. In dealer settings, this is done with TechStream, Toyota's diagnostic software, which can command a forced charge cycle, clear the adaptive memory, and run a battery rebalance protocol. But here's the part that surprises people. A simplified version of the same reset can be triggered without any dealer tools at all, using nothing but the hardware already in your driveway. I'm going to walk through this carefully because the order matters. First thing, your hybrid needs to be in a stable state. Park it in a garage or flat driveway. Engine off, key out. Foot off the brake for a full 60 seconds so the high voltage system fully powers down. Don't skip that minute. The hybrid system needs time to discharge the inverter capacitors before you touch anything. Next, you're going to disconnect the 12-volt auxiliary battery. That's the small lead-acid battery, usually in the trunk on a Prius or under the hood on a Camry hybrid. Pull the negative terminal first. Always negative first. Leave it disconnected for a minimum of 15 minutes. Some Toyota service bulletins specify 30 for full ECU reset, so when in doubt, wait the longer time. While you're waiting, locate your cabin air filter and the hybrid battery cooling fan vent. On most Toyota hybrids, it's behind the rear passenger seat. Vacuum that vent out. Seriously. Pet hair, dust, and lint clog it constantly. And a hot battery is a battery that drifts out of balance faster than anything else. This single step alone resolves a stunning number of intermittent codes. Reconnect the negative terminal. Get in the car. Press the power button without your foot on the brake. You're entering accessory mode. Watch the dash light up and run through its diagnostic check. Then, foot on brake, press power again to fully start the hybrid system. Now here's the part most people miss. You need to drive it. Not around the block. A proper relearn cycle requires roughly 20 to 40 minutes of mixed driving. Some highway, some city, a few full stops, ideally on a moderately warm day. The battery ECU is rebuilding its map of cell behavior. and it needs varied conditions to do that accurately. By the end of that drive, in many cases, that warning light is gone. Now I have to be straight with you, because I'm not going to oversell this. This reset works beautifully for what mechanics call soft failures. Calibration drift, single event imbalance after a deep discharge, codes triggered by extreme temperature swings, ghost codes from a bad 12-volt battery confusing the hybrid ECU. In those scenarios, you can absolutely save yourself thousands of dollars. But if you've got actual cell degradation, modules that have lost real capacity, internal shorts, or hardware failure, no reset on Earth is going to bring those cells back. You can clear the code, drive 10 miles, and watch it come right back on. So how do you tell the difference before you waste an afternoon? The Dr. Prius app, $5 download, works through any cheap Bluetooth OBD2 dongle. It reads the actual block voltages and runs a battery life test. If your weakest block is within roughly 0.2 volts of your strongest, the reset is very likely to hold. If you've got one block sagging 3 or 4 tenths below the others, that pair of modules is genuinely failing, and you're looking at module replacement instead. Honest framing. That's what saves you money in the long run. Here's where the cost picture gets interesting. Walk into a Toyota dealer with a PROA80 code, and the standard recommendation is a complete hybrid battery replacement. Brand new pack. Around $3,400 on a Gen 3 Prius after labor. Some dealers offer reconditioned packs for about $1,800. Very few will perform a battery ECU reset and call it a day because a straightforward business reality, there's no margin in a free fix. Independent hybrid specialists, the shops that exist almost exclusively to service Priuses and hybrid Camrys, take a different approach. They'll run the reset first. If it holds, they charge you a diagnostic fee and send you home. If specific modules are failing, they replace just those modules, usually $300 to $700 total, and rebalance the pack. Same engineering result. Fraction of the cost. You're not being conspired against. You're just talking to two businesses with very different incentive structures. If the reset works for you, here's how to make sure it keeps working. Drive the car regularly. Hybrids hate sitting. A Prius parked for 3 weeks loses cell balance faster than one driven daily, because the auto balancing only happens when the system is active. If you travel often, plug in a battery tender to the 12-volt side and start the car for 30 minutes every 2 weeks if you can. Keep that hybrid battery cooling vent immaculate. Set a quarterly reminder. It takes 90 seconds with a vacuum. In hot climates, park in shade. NiMH cells degrade twice as fast above 95 degrees Fahrenheit as they do at 70. And get a Bluetooth OBD2 dongle. Not for paranoia, just so you can run a quick block voltage check every couple of months. Catching imbalance early, before it triggers a hard code, is the difference between a free fix and a $1,500 weekend. So the picture comes together like this. Most dead hybrid batteries aren't dead. They're miscalibrated. The reset Toyota technicians use to verify pack health before condemning it is the same reset, in simplified form, that you can perform in your driveway with no tools and no cost. It won't fix every situation, but it resolves a huge percentage of the cases that trigger expensive replacement quotes, and it gives you the diagnostic clarity to know whether you're dealing with a software issue or an actual hardware problem. That single piece of knowledge can be worth thousands of dollars over the life of one hybrid. I'm working on a full breakdown of which hybrid models respond best to this procedure, and which independent shops are worth driving to versus the ones to avoid. So if you want that one to land in your feed when it drops, the subscribe button is right there. And drop me a comment with the year and trim of your hybrid and what code you're seeing, if you're seeing one. I read every single one of those, and I'll point you toward the right next step. Drive smart, spend less. See you in the next one.